June Kessler called me at 7 on a Saturday morning, and the first thing my best friend's mother had said to me since the funeral was, "Eli, honey, somebody's been in the yard again." Again, I was standing in my kitchen with the coffee halfway poured, and that one word did what 8 months of casseroles and unanswered voicemails hadn't. It put me in the truck. In the yard how? June? They broke Danny's fence. Her voice was level the way a load is level, which is to say, under strain, held there on purpose. Northeast corner. Bring your tools. And Eli, a pause I could have driven the truck through, come around the back. I'd rather the street didn't see. Here's the 8 months, fast, because June wouldn't want me lingering on it any more than you do. Danny Kessler and I met at age 9 over a disputed baseball, and stayed brothers for 26 years. He went into steel, I went into roofs and decks. He called us the vertical and the horizontal. 20 months ago, he made superintendent at the company that carried his own last name, K&M Construction. Kessler and Mercer. The outfit his dad co-founded. 8 months ago, on a Tuesday morning at 6:41, Danny fell 6 stories at the Calais Street job when his tie-off failed, and the incident report used the phrase improper employee anchoring, which is a company's way of saying a man killed himself by clumsiness. Danny Kessler did not clip in wrong. I'd have bet my license on it then. By the end of this story, I basically did. I came up the back the way she asked, and the fence told me its own version before June could tell me hers. The northeast corner was stove in, 2 cedar panels cracked through, the corner post heeled over like a drunk. In the soft dirt on the alley side, a tire tread, wide and aggressive, a work truck's boot print. And the side gate's chain hadn't rusted or snapped. It had been cut, both links, clean as dental work. Bolt cutters aren't weather, I said. No, June agreed, from the porch, coffee in hand, cardigan in August. They are not. Stapled to the broken panel, flapping like it was proud of itself, was a City of Halbrook code violation. Fence in disrepair, safety hazard. Cure within 7 days or daily fines accrue. Dated yesterday. Somebody had wrecked June Kessler's fence in the night, and by lunchtime the next day the city had ticketed her for owning it. They broke it, I said, reading it twice, and you got the ticket. Efficient town, said June, when it wants to be. She looked at me over the coffee, and I saw what 8 months had done. The weight gone from her frame. None gone from her spine. The motion light's been unscrewed twice. Things in the garage have moved, not taken. Moved, she let that sit exactly long enough. I didn't call the police, and I didn't call a fence company. I called you. Why me? Because you'll fix it right. She turned toward the house, then stopped with her hand on the screen door, and said the sentence this whole story hangs from. And before you leave today, there's someone I want you to meet. The someone arrived 40 minutes later in a dusty RAV4 with a hard hat rolling around the back seat, and got out already assessing me. Boots, truck. The way I'd braced the leaning post, like a building she hadn't decided to certify. She was mid-30s, sun-lined, dark braid. Carpenter's pencil behind one ear, out of habit rather than need. She did not offer her hand. "So you're the level genius," she said. I stood there holding a string line. Nobody had called me that in 8 months, and only one person had ever called me it at all. Maya Torres, June said, coming down with a picture like this was a barbecue, and not whatever it was. She was the safety engineer at K&M. She and Danny worked together 4 years. A beat. Deliberate as a nail set. She's also the reason I haven't signed. Signed what? Maya and June traded a look with a whole committee meeting inside it. Then, June went into the house and came back with a fat envelope, legal-sized, handled so much its corners had gone soft, and laid it on the porch table like it was warm. K&M Construction and its insurer were offering June Kessler $190,000 in full settlement of any and all claims arising from the death of Daniel R. Kessler. Attached, a non-disclosure agreement, a non-disparagement clause, a covenant not to pursue further action. The offer expired Friday at 5 p.m. They call it closure, June said. It reads like a muzzle. They've moved that deadline twice, Maya said, watching me read. Each time she doesn't sign, something happens. Last month it was her homeowner's insurance getting a mysterious tip about an unpermitted deck. She nodded at the deck. Danny and I built that deck. It's permitted. I pulled the permit myself. This month, apparently, it's the fence. I looked at the cut chain, the tire tread, the citation flapping on the broken cedar, pressure with a paper trail, every piece deniable. Somebody was squeezing a 68-year-old widow toward a Friday deadline, politely, professionally, from 3 directions at once. Why haven't you signed? I asked June. Not because she should have. Because I wanted to hear it. June looked at the fence her husband built, and her son grew up jumping over. Because $190,000, she said, is a strange amount of money to pay for an accident that was supposedly his own fault. Down the block, an engine turned over. A matte black F-250, parked where no neighbor of June's has ever parked a truck that clean, pulled away from the curb without hurry. Maya watched it go all the way to the stop sign. You should start on that corner post, she said. You'll want daylight. The northeast post was the one Danny and I set ourselves in the summer of 2003, 2 12-year-olds under his father's supervision, and if you looked on the third rail, you could still find D+E03 scratched with a roofing nail. It was also, and I'd ribbed Danny about this for years, the post that had been dying since 2 administrations ago, heaved by roots, wet at the base. The one thing on that property Danny never got around to fixing. Leave it, he'd say, every single time. That post'll hold. I know that post personally. I dug the broken panels out, cut the concrete collar, and got about 2 feet down alongside the old footing when the shovel hit something that was not rock and was not root. It rang. I went to my knees and worked it loose with my hands, a length of 4-inch PVC, capped both ends, wrapped in contractor bags and taped like a mummy, dry as the day it went in. My heart was doing something I didn't have a name for yet. I carried it to the porch, and June came out, and Maya came around the corner with the string line still in her hand, and nobody said anything while I cut the tape. Inside the tube, Danny's old phone, the cracked screen one he'd carried on sites for years, dead as a stone. A Greenfield notebook, the kind that lives in a foreman's back pocket, swollen with use. A small brass key stamped 114. And around the notebook, a rubber band holding a strip of masking tape with 5 words in Danny's block handwriting, the handwriting I'd been reading since the 4th grade for Maya T. She'll know. June sat down. Not fainted, sat, hard, on the porch step, like her knees had been informed before the rest of her. She put her hand over her mouth and looked at the tube, and the tape, and her dead son's handwriting naming a living woman. And when she finally spoke, it came out barely above the cicadas. 8 months, she said. 8 months it's been 3 feet from my kitchen window. I looked at the hole. At the post Danny defended for 15 years. At the fence line, a stranger's truck had been probing in the dark, corner by corner, moving things in the garage, looking for exactly this and digging in exactly the wrong places. He left it where only I would dig, I said. He knew you'd call me about the fence. He told me the post would hold. Maya hadn't moved. She was staring at her own name in a dead man's handwriting, and her face had gone through something and come out the other side as engineering. Get it inside, she said quietly. Both of you. Now, and Eli, pull your truck around back where theirs was. She picked up the empty PVC and the tape like evidence. Because it was. If they'd been searching this yard for 8 months, they knew he kept records. Which means the only people in Holbrook who don't know what's in this notebook, she held the screen door for June, are us. Let's fix that before Friday. Maya read the notebook at June's kitchen table the way a surgeon reads a film, and I watched my best friend's last year assemble itself out of graph paper and grief. Danny logged everything. Every ironworker does or doesn't stay one, but this notebook wasn't the official log. It was the shadow log. Anchor points he'd inspected and flagged fail, with dates that Maya confirmed appeared as pass in the company's filed reports. Serial numbers copied off tie-off hardware, some circled twice, some with a furious little star. And one entry from 3 weeks before he died that Maya read out loud and then had to put the notebook down. R's lanyard held. Anchor rotated 40 under load. Pulled the whole assembly. Kept it. Told R, stay off the east anchors till I swap them. He has kids, R, Maya said. Rigo Fuentes. There was a near miss in March, hushed up as a slip. It wasn't a slip. The anchor moved. Her finger hovered over the starred serial numbers like they were hot. These are fall protection anchors, Eli, the things you clip your whole life to. Danny was re-inspecting them behind the official inspections, behind my inspections. Her jaw did something bitter. Except I resigned in October, and half these dated entries are after that, and the filed reports after October still carry my signature block. Cloned, my signature is all over his accident. Kept it, June said, from the doorway. She'd been standing there the whole time. She was always going to be standing there the whole time. It says he kept the assembly. Kept it where? I put the little brass key on the table. 114. Maya looked at it for 2 seconds and said, store all, out past the mill. K&M crews use it for tool overflow. Units run about that number. That's when June's phone buzzed on the counter and the room changed temperature. She held it up so we could read it. A text from a contact saved, from politer years as Grant M. Grant M., June, Friday is real. After that it goes to the insurer's lawyers and out of my hands, and I can't protect the number. Danny would want you looked after. Let me look after you. Danny would want you looked after. I've swung hammers into things my whole life, and I have never wanted to hit anything the way I wanted to hit that sentence. Grant Mercer. The M in K&M. Danny's father's old partner, Danny's boss. The man who gave the eulogy. I loved him like a son, with June in the front row. The man who, 3 months after the funeral, had bought Danny's inherited stake in the company from June for what her lawyer at the time called a fair number and what an actual lawyer would have called lunch money. She'd signed that one. She still turned her wedding ring around when it came up. He texts me every few days now, June said. Calm and terrible. Always kind. Always about Friday. Maya was already packing the notebook into a freezer bag. Storage unit. Tonight, after their yard shuts. And we need a charger for a phone nobody's made since 2019. She looked at me. You still keep every cable you've ever owned in that truck? It's a system, I said. It's a landfill, said June, with the first 10% of a smile I'd seen from her since the funeral, and went to get her shoes, because there was never any version of this where June Kessler stayed home. Store all Unit 114 opened on the smell of cold metal and WD-40, and under a moving blanket, tagged in Danny's handwriting like a museum exhibit, was the reason my best friend died. An anchor assembly, the forged steel fitting a lifeline clips to, except when Maya got it under the work light, her whole posture changed. She turned it over twice. She scratched the casting with her key and looked at the bright metal underneath the way you'd look at a passport photo that isn't quite the person holding it. "This is a knockoff," she said. "It's wearing the sticker of a certified brand. Right sticker, right serial format, on a casting that never saw that factory. Pot metal in a tuxedo." She set it down gently, like it might still hurt someone, which technically it already had. Danny's harness worked. Eli, his lanyard worked. The building lied to him. Behind the assembly, a banker's box. Invoices. K&M billed for brand-name certified anchors at brand-name prices. Packing slips, the actual shipments, a no-name importer. Unit cost about 1/9 of the invoice line. Somebody was buying counterfeit safety hardware, papering it as certified, and pocketing the spread on every job in the county. The inspection sheets that would have caught it were the ones being falsified over Maya's cloned signature. While Maya photographed pages, I got Danny's phone breathing off cable number 11 from the landfill, and it woke up at 4% into 8 months of missed everything, and I went to messages with my thumb shaking, and there it was, the last thread. Grant Mercer. "Danny, certs on the East anchors are fake. I pulled one. I have the invoices. Calling OSHA Monday unless the certs come down and the hardware's swapped. All of it, Grant. Every site. Grant M. Don't do something stupid over paperwork. Site at 6. We'll fix it. Sent 9:48 p.m. Monday. Danny Kessler tied off to the East Anchor Point at 6:39 the next morning, alone on the steel before his crew, because that was Danny, always first up. At 6:41 he was gone. The incident report says improper employee anchoring. They buried him twice, the second time in paperwork. Nobody said anything for a while in Unit 114. June held her son's phone in both hands and read his last argument, the one he was winning, and when she finally spoke she didn't sound like a grieving woman. She sounded like a foundation. "Friday," she said, "they want me to sign a paper promising to never say any of this out loud." "Yes, ma'am," Maya said. "Then we know what the 190,000 is for." June handed me the phone. "Photograph everything twice." We came out of the Mill Road at 11, and the matte black F-250 picked us up at the second light and stayed there. Through the underpass, past the fairgrounds, 3 turns, 4. I watched it in the mirror and kept my hands at 10 and 2 like a student driver. 3 turns is a coincidence, Maya said, not turning around, reading its plate into her phone's notes app. 7's a message. I took us the long way past the county shops, and the truck peeled off with no hurry at all. Message delivered. In the back seat, June watched it go with her son's notebook flat under both palms, the way you'd hold something down in a wind. The reply came Monday morning, in triplicate, because men like Grant Mercer don't send 1 consequence when 3 will fit in the envelope. First, the police. A city cruiser in June's driveway at 9, 2 officers, very polite. There'd been a report filed by K&M's counsel of stolen company property. A company issued phone and proprietary records believed to be in the possession of one Eli Brandt. The younger officer did the talking. The older one, done on the tape, mostly looked at the fresh cedar going up on the fence like he approved. No warrant. I said the word lawyer pleasantly. They said the word ongoing pleasantly. And on the way out, Dunn paused by my truck and delivered 9 words to the general morning air. Get it somewhere official before it gets you hurt. Second, my phone, an auto notice from the state licensing board. A complaint had been filed against my contractor's license, unpermitted structural work, by an anonymous party with an extremely specific knowledge of my last 3 job sites. My license is how I eat. There's no mystery in a punch like that. You're meant to know exactly who threw it. Third, June's email. Mercer's lawyers. In light of continuing disparagement, the settlement offer was being revised, upward, to $240,000. But the deadline was now Thursday at noon, after which the offer would be withdrawn entirely and the company would evaluate its remedies. They'd taken a day away from us and dressed it as a gift. We regrouped on the half-built fence line, because I think better with a string line, and Maya thinks better with a level in her hand, and that's where the thing I'd been carrying for 8 months finally came out of me sideways. He texted me, I said, the Thursday before. I never answered it. Maya went still. I pulled out my phone, my thread, the one I'd reread so many times the screen should have worn through, and showed her. Danny, free Thursday? Want your eyes on some rigging before Friday's pour. Bring the good level, genius, sent 6:12 p.m. I was on a tear-off in the next county, mud to the elbows, and I thumbed it closed and thought, tomorrow. Danny died Tuesday morning, wanting a second pair of eyes on the steel. And the pair of eyes he asked for was mine. And I still owe him a text back. He wasn't asking you to catch the anchors, Maya said quietly. He'd already caught them. He wanted a witness he trusted. She looked down the fence line, jaw tight, and made her own confession to the string. I resigned instead of fighting them, Eli. I saw my reports coming back changed, and I wrote a memo, and when the memo disappeared, I protected my license and left. I left. You didn't answer, and he stayed up on that steel alone. She said it without mercy for either of us, which was somehow the kindest available option. So no, you don't get the guilt to yourself. We split it, and we spent it. The evening went blue over the fence we were rebuilding, and for a second the work and the grief and the woman holding the other end of my string line all pulled the same direction, and I started to say something that wasn't about anchors. Maya heard it coming the way she probably hears load shifts. She didn't step back. She put 2 fingers on my chest like she was plumbing a post. Finish his fight first, she said, then ask me. Rigo Fuentes ate lunch at the same taco truck every day at 11:40, parked in the gravel outside the K&M yard. And that's where Maya walked up on him Tuesday with me a step behind, and 8 months of his silence between them. He saw her and his whole face closed like a gate. Foreman now, Danny's old radio on his hip, which I tried not to look at. Maya, no. He wasn't unkind about it. He was drowning about it. I got 4 kids and a mortgage and a boss who signs both. Whatever this is, no. Danny kept a second log, Maya said. I said no. She didn't argue. She just opened the freezer bag and held up one page, the page, and let a dead man do the talking. R. Lanyard held. Anchor rotated 40 under load. Pulled the whole assembly. Kept it. Told R, stay off the east anchors till I swap them. He has kids. Rigo read it once fast and once slow. A man learning that on the worst spring morning of his life, when his line jerked and his heart stopped, somebody had already been standing between him and the ground, and had written it down, and had died on the very anchors he'd warned Rigo off of. His eyes went bright and furious and ashamed all at once, and he put his tacos down on the fender untouched, which from Rigo Fuentes is a eulogy. He wrote me down, Rigo said, mostly to the page. He wrote me safe. Then it came out of him low and fast, glancing at the yard gate the whole time. The morning Danny fell, before the ambulance had even cleared the site. Mercer pulled Rigo into the office trailer, pointed at the DVR that fed the yard and gate cameras, and told him to pull the drive and run it through the crusher at the transfer station. Called it protecting the family from lawyers. Rigo pulled the drive. But I didn't crush it, he said. I crushed a dead one from the scrap shelf. His I kept. Somewhere dry. He wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. You don't do what he said, and you don't cross him either. That's how you keep 4 kids fed in this county. I figured the drive was my insurance. A hard breath. Turns out it was just my shame with a serial number. Rigo. We need it. When Mercer can't reach me, he said. Not 1 hour before. You don't know what he's got on half that crew. Whose comp claim he carried. Whose Dewey he made disappear. Whose brother he hired no questions. He collects O's like other men collect trucks. He looked at me for the first time, up and down, the level genius, Danny's other shadow. And then he gave us the thing we didn't know to ask for, and it moved the whole war. You better be fast, whatever you're doing. Fairview Exchange mobilizes Monday. Steel starts going vertical Wednesday. He lowered his voice like the gravel was wired. Same rigging vendor, same certs. Same stickers, man, I seen the pallets. And the Callis Street trailer, the old site office? Clean-out crew is scheduled Saturday. Everything in it goes to the transfer station for real this time. Monday, men would clip their lives to the same lie that killed Danny. Saturday, the last physical corner of the crime scene went in a crusher. Friday at 5, Thursday at noon. Now, June's silence was supposed to be bought and papered. Every clock in the county was running the same direction, and none of them were running for us. That night, at the kitchen table, June was rebanding the notebook when the back cover fell open past where any of us had read, and there was one more page, alone, in block handwriting, dated 2 weeks before the Callis Street job. If you're reading this, Mom called you about the fence. Told you the post would hold, didn't I? Take all of it to Maya. Then, take care of them both. Sorry about the yard. D. June read it with her thumb moving over the ink like it was raised. Then she folded her hands on top of it and sat absolutely straight, eyes shining, refusing gravity on every front at once, and said, "Well, you heard the man." Wednesday, we stopped being a grieving family with a shoebox and became a case, because Maya Torres builds files the way she builds anything, to code, stamped, overbuilt. She wrote it as an engineer's declaration, 11 pages, the notebook entries mapped to the falsified inspection sheets. The falsified sheets mapped to the cloned signature block, the invoices mapped to the import packing slips. The counterfeit assembly photographed from 9 angles with a scale rule. Chain of custody from PVC tube to freezer bag. Every page numbered like rebar. 3 identical drives. One went to a safety deposit box before noon. At 2, we sat across a county desk from Detective Gruel, who listened for 40 minutes without touching her coffee. Read Danny's last text thread twice. And delivered her verdict in the flat voice of a woman who has watched cases die of enthusiasm. The fraud is real and I can move on it. The death? Paper's good. Paper plus that missing drive is a case. She kept copies of everything and both our phone numbers. And at the door she added the only warm thing she said all day. Whoever's sitting on that drive, tell them the safest place to be is on the record. At 4, Maya played her ace. The one I'd never have thought of, because I fight with hammers, and she fights with load paths. A complete copy of the file went by courier to K&M's Surety, the bonding company that guarantees every public job the firm touches. Attention, claims counsel, with her declaration on top. Courts take years, she said, watching the courier pull away. Bonds take days. You can bluff a jury, Eli. You can't bluff your bond. Mercer's answer came at 6:19 p.m., voicemail, my phone, and the dinner party finish was gone off his voice like paint off a curb. Eli Brandt. You re-roof houses. I build the county. Every permit you'll ever pull crosses a desk I eat lunch with. That's not a threat. Son, that's civics. Here's Thursday, June signs at noon, and you bring me my property, the phone, the book, all of it, and your license complaint evaporates and everybody goes back to their lives. Or nobody does. You've got a business because I let the small stuff live. Don't make me stop doing favors. Maya listened to it twice and saved it to all 3 drives with the tenderness of a woman filing a confession. Named his leverage on his own voicemail, she said. Bless him. Thursday noon came and went unsigned. At 12:04, the lawyer's email arrived. Offer withdrawn in its entirety. Litigation posture under evaluation. A countersuit for conversion and defamation in preparation. June read it out loud at the kitchen table and then, with great ceremony, magneted it to the refrigerator next to Danny's third-grade handprint turkey. There, she said. Now everything importance on one appliance. At 11:22 that night, my phone lit up with a pin drop and one line from a number I didn't have saved. Unknown, Grace Lutheran lot. 15 men. Danny's mom comes. Nobody else gets it. The parking lot was empty except for one dome light. Rigo stood by his tailgate turning a Ziploc bag over and over, and when we pulled in he didn't look at me and he didn't look at Maya. He walked to June's window, and he put the bag, one D-VAR drive, wrapped like something holy, into her hands. And he said, "He wrote me safe, Sura. Tell the detective lady I'll say it all on the record." He was back in his truck before June could thank him. But she rolled her window down anyway and thanked the taillights, because June Kessler finishes her sentences. Friday morning at 9, in a county conference room with bad coffee and good chain of custody, we watched the last morning of my best friend's life from the angle of a yard camera, and I will tell you only what mattered. Timestamp 5:52 a.m., Grant Mercer's Tahoe at the gate, alone. 47 minutes before the crew's start time, Mercer crossing the yard with a canvas tool bag he had no earthly reason to carry. Mercer on the man lift to the 6th level edge, to the east tie-off point. The east tie-off point, where he spends 11 minutes doing something the camera is too far away to dignify with detail, but close enough to identify the long silhouette of a cheater bar. Timestamp 6:07. Mercer leaving the way he came. Timestamp 6:31, Danny's truck. Timestamp 6:39, Danny on the steel, first up, like always. Detective Gruel watched it through twice without blinking. Then she closed the laptop softly, the way you close a door in a house where someone's sleeping, and said, "Warrant paper starts now. Authentication, metallurgy, the works that takes days, and done right, it takes quiet days." She looked at June, so when he calls you, and he will, he's out of moves that use lawyers. Take the meeting. Say yes to the meeting and no to everything else. I'll be in the hallway. He called at 1:15, sugar back in his voice. He'd talked the insurer into one last window. Out of respect for the family, he'd bring the papers personally at 4:30. And, almost as an afterthought, the Tell Gruel had promised us, and June, have Danny's things there. The phone, the book. Company property ought to come home. Clean slate all around. At 4:30 exactly, the Tahoe pulled into June's driveway, and Grant Mercer came up the walk in pressed khaki with a notary trailing him like a caddy, past the fence I'd rebuilt straight and proud, and he actually paused to appraise it. "Good cedar," he said. "Fences make good neighbors, June." June held the screen door open with a hostess smile that should have registered on a seismograph somewhere. "Come in, Grant. Everyone's here." To his credit as a predator, he only hitched half a step when he saw Maya at the kitchen table. The folder came out. The pen came out. The speech came out. Closure, respect, what Danny would want. And it was smooth right up until he laid his palm flat on the table and asked, gently, for his property. The phone. The notebook. And whatever else got dug up, he said, with a little nod toward the yard, toward the northeast corner, and there it was, the thing only the digger could have known to nod at. "No," June said. "Just that." The sugar drained out of him by degrees, and what was underneath came up in order, like a man working through a toolbox. My license. The code office, and what it could find wrong with a 60-year-old house by Christmas. Rigo's job, Rigo's crew, everybody's crew, the countersuit that would eat her savings before it ever saw a jury, He was fluent and unhurried, and he never raised his voice, and it was the most frightening thing I've ever watched at a kitchen table, and Maya let him finish completely. Then she picked up the remote and put the yard camera on June's television. 5:52 a.m., the Tahoe. The tool bag. The man lift. The east tie-off. 11 minutes. The cheater bar. I have seen concrete tested to failure. You watch the load climb and the material hold and hold and hold, and then between one number and the next it simply stops being what it was. That's what happened to Grant Mercer's face. That's maintenance, he said. Then why'd you order the drive smashed? I said. The hallway door opened, and Detective Gruel came in holding the warrant like a dinner invitation, with Officer Dunn filling the doorframe behind her, and the notary, God bless her, picked up her stamp and simply left. Mercer looked at the television, and the folder, and the three of us, and made his last offer to the only person in the room he'd never once understood. Everything settles, June, he said, quiet, almost tender. Everything's got a number. June Kessler stood up at her own kitchen table. Outside, a sprinkler 2 yards over ticked around its arc, and the cicadas ran their saw, and for a moment, nobody in that kitchen breathed. He wasn't an accident, she said. Neither am I. Nobody moved for a long 3 seconds. Then Gruel said, Mr. Mercer, in the tone that ends meetings, and read him the beginning of the rest of his life: obstruction, evidence tampering, fraud, further charges pending, and walked him out past the refrigerator, past the third-grade turkey, past the withdrawn offer magneted beside it, and down the front walk along all that good cedar, and not one board of it made him a better neighbor. You want the after, so here's the after, quick and true. The bonding company answered Maya's packet before the DA answered Gruel's. She'd told us you can't bluff your bond, and you can't. K&M's surety pulled out inside a week, which in construction is a death certificate with extra steps. The Fairview owner suspended the rigging vendor that Sunday night. Monday, no steel went vertical. And when it finally did a month later, every anchor on the job wore a certification a metallurgist would bless. The counterfeit hardware ring turned out to reach 4 counties. OSHA reopened Callis Street. The DA charged the fraud and the tampering first, and as I record this, a grand jury is hearing the rest. The part with a timestamp of 5:52 a.m. And Rigo Fuentes, on the record, in a pressed shirt, told the truth with his 4 kids in the second row. He runs Danny's old crew now. They call him the safest foreman in Halbrook. He collects that instead of O's. June never signed a muzzle. When a settlement finally came, months later, it came on her lawyer's paper, and the number was not the point, and the missing endo was. This time, no muzzle, she said, and used the first check to endow a fall protection training fund at the trade school with Danny's name over the door, so that every kid who clips in for the first time in this county does it under the word Kessler. And on a Saturday in October, we finished the fence. New cedar, straight runs, and the northeast corner post set deep in fresh concrete. But the third rail is the old third rail, sanded, sealed, and screwed back exactly where it lived. D+E03 facing the kitchen window where June drinks her coffee. Before the collar cured, June came down the steps with the little brass key, 114, and pressed it flat into the wet concrete at the base of the post, and smoothed it over with her thumb like a blessing. So he still holds the corner, she said. Maya ran her hand along the old rail, over the initials, and told me the last thing I didn't know. He tried to introduce us for a year, you realize. Kept a picture of you on his phone from some roof job, showed it to me like a realtor. Said, and her voice did Danny, the cadence dead on, and it only broke a little, you'll hate him for a week. Then you'll keep him. There was supposed to be a barbecue. I looked at June. June looked extremely innocent, which on June is a confession. "There's someone I want you to meet," I quoted at her. "Well," said my best friend's mother, unrepentant, turning back toward her kitchen. "I wasn't finishing my list, honey. I was finishing his. The gate Danny never got, the barbecue Danny never threw. We stood there by the post that held him. For 8 months, 3 feet down, faithful as advertised, and I said, his fight's finished." "Then ask," Maya said. I asked her. And Maya Torres looked at the initials on the rail and then at me and gave me the whole rest of my life in 2 words: weeks up. So here's what I know now, and then I want to hear from you. The people we love leave us posts to dig at, and fights to finish, and people to meet. And the only unforgivable thing is leaving the message on read. I'm asking you 2 things, and I read every comment on this channel. If your shovel had hit that pipe, your best friend's handwriting, waiting under the post he made you promise, would hold, would you have handed it back for the check by Friday, or spent the rest of that week the way June spent hers? And who is it for you? The person whose message is still sitting unanswered in your phone tonight. The one you keep meaning to get back to and somehow never do. Type their name in the comments. Then close this app and go answer them for real. The fence can wait. And if you stayed with me all the way to the last post, subscribe. This channel is for the people who answer.